Hello and welcome to the Reporting and Compliance System demonstration for the Reconnect program. My name is Joan Kaiser and I'm a member of the USDA RUS Reconnect support team, and I'll be walking through the Reporting and Compliance, or RNC, community system for you today. One quick note before we get started, I'll be using a test environment to demonstrate the system, so what you see today may vary slightly from your assigned security role in the production environment or the things that are specific to your entity. Before we dive in, I'd like to talk about when you will use RNC to report on your RUS awards. If you have one or more Reconnect awards, you'll use the RNC system to report on those awards and on any other active awards from the RUS telecommunications subprograms, which are Community Connect, Distance Learning and Telemedicine, Rural Broadband Access, and Telecommunications Infrastructure. This means that you'll use RNC as of January 1st, 2021 to report on your awards from other subprograms administered by RUS Telecom, even if activity has not yet started on your Reconnect award. Now, if you're an electric program borrower from RUS, you will file your Reconnect award reports here in RNC and continue to use the data collection system, or DCS, to file reports associated with your electric program awards. And again, this demo is going to focus on the Reconnect program reports required of awardees. While we will mention other programs reports in passing today, if you have questions about reporting requirements for any other awards, please reach out to your General Field Representative or GFR directly. Now we'll just walk through a quick little introduction of the RNC system for you. RNC streamlines the reporting process for Reconnect awardees. Entities that receive grants and loans from RUS are required to report certain financial, operational, construction, and performance data on a quarterly or annual basis. Also, the required reports to demonstrate compliance with all post-award reporting requirements, which are embedded in the legal agreements that your entity signed with RUS. Now, the RNC system groups the reports into two primary categories: account or entity level and project level. Account level reports are the financial reports, which are due quarterly, 30 days after the reports are generated in the system. Next up are system data reports, which are annual. And finally, audit reports, which are also due annually. Their due dates fall either 4 or 9 months after the close of your fiscal year, and I'll provide a little bit more detail on the audit report deadlines a little bit later on in the demonstration. The project level reports for Reconnect include the construction progress report, which is due annually, the annual performance reports, which are also due annually, but do not start until after your construction is complete, and finally, the closeout report, which is a one-time occurrence after a project is fully complete and all funding has been dispersed. And keep in mind that, again, RNC generates the reports for awardees on appropriate schedules that are based on the requirements in the executed legal agreements between RUS and the entity. RNC was designed to allow your entity's employees and consultants to collaborate on and submit reports in a single place. And the system has different user roles that allow individuals to take different actions in RNC. First up is the Representative Signature Certifier, or RepSign Cert. Every awardee must designate one employee as the RepSign Cert on their Authorized Representative Request, or ARR form, and ARR resolution. This user role can submit the ARR on behalf of the entity, view and update all reports in the system, add, edit, and remove users who will work in RNC, and certify and submit reports to USDA. Next is the administrator role, which is also limited to employees of an entity. Administrators can submit the ARR, view and update all reports, and add, edit, and remove users except for the RepSign Cert. Entity employees can also be designated as Representative Update Data, or Rep Update Data. This role allows the user to view and update all reports, and the consultant role is for your entity's outside consultants. They can also view and update reports with this security role's permissions. But keep in mind, do not assign a security role other than consultant to any users that do not work for your entity. And finally, the viewer role can see all reports in the system, but cannot make any changes. Now we'll talk briefly about how you access the system. Every user for RNC needs a verified e-authentication account, or EAuth. If you already have a verified EAuth account, you don't need to create a new one to access RNC. However, if you need one, or if you need to modify an existing account, please visit the USDA EAuth website at the URL listed on this slide. Once all of your users have verified EAuth credentials, your entity must submit an authorized representative request, or ARR. The ARR process ensures that only the individuals authorized by an entity have access to that entity's account and data in RNC. A note about the ARR. If your entity has an approved ARR from the Community Connect subprogram, you're not required to submit an ARR for the RNC system. Now, the RNC user guide, which is also shown in the link at the last link on this page, that contains detailed instructions for completing your ARR, but here are a few highlights. The ARR must designate a RepSign cert for your entity. You can also assign administrators at this time, or the RepSign cert can do that later. An ARR resolution supporting the designation of these individuals must be signed and uploaded with the ARR itself. The ARR must be submitted by the RepSign cert or an administrator who is identified in the ARR resolution. And information in the ARR resolution and samples are available on the USDA website at the URL listed near the bottom of this slide. And now we're going to just talk briefly about how you access the system. Please use one of the recommended browsers, which are Microsoft Edge for Windows 10 or Google Chrome in the latest version. This is going to help preclude any technical issues that might occur due to browser incompatibility. And also, after you've completed your ARR and you're ready to start using the system to filling out your reports, you'll log in at the URL listed on the screen, and you'll log in there with a verified EAuth ID and password. And now, if you give me just a moment, we're going to transition to the live demonstration of the system itself. And it'll take just a moment for the screen share to set up and load. Okay, so the screen share is up and loaded for our live demonstration. Thanks for your patience. And as you can see, I am using a test account. Yes, I am signed in as Buzz Lightyear from Disney Internet. So the first thing that you're going to see when you're able to log into the system after your ARR is approved is this particular home page. And very quickly, the home page just shows you any current reports that you might need to pay attention to. I'm going to scroll down quickly through those. And it also has some help links toward the bottom of the page. Now I'm scrolled back up to the top of the page because the first part of the home page that I really wanted to delve into is this menu in the far upper right-hand corner under your name. If you just click your name, you'll see the menu drop down. And we're going to look at My RNC Profile, which will bring up the user's profile in the RNC system and various information about the entity, about the user. And you can add the phone number or change the phone number here. The rest of this information comes in actually from the EAuth account. So if you click the edit button, you will see the edit pop-up window appear. You can add a phone number in the phone number blank and then click save when you're done. I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel because we're not going to change anything today. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see all the entities that you're associated with. If you're a consultant and associated with more than one, you'll also have an opportunity to switch entity, which I'm not going to show you today, but the user guide does cover that. Scrolling back to the top, I'm going to go back to that menu in the upper right-hand corner and go to the entity profile. Now the entity profile, which I'll scroll just a little bit, has two tabs called Entity Details and Users. We're looking at the Entity Details tab right now, which provides a number of identifiers for the entity, including things like the DUNS number, the tax ID, and it would also contain information such as the phone number, physical address, correspondence address, all of which would have come in from a Reconnect application. If we switch to the Users tab by clicking on its name, this will pull up a list of all of the authorized users from your entity, and you can see I'm scrolling down through my authorized users, and it shows you their security roles as well. This is also where a RepSign-Cert or an administrator can maintain the users. You'll notice that there toward the top there is a light blue Add User button. If you click that, you simply enter the user's eAuth ID, and the system will pull all of their pertinent information from the eAuth ID. You can add the phone number. Scrolling down a little further, you'll be required to choose a security role for the person that you're adding. As you can see, we can see all of our security roles here. And you can assign them as a key contact. And key contacts are people that USDA might want to talk to later on while they're reviewing the report or deal with any other requests related to reporting. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel right now on that. We're not going to save a new user today. You can also edit user details. Simply scroll to the user that you'd like to edit. Let's take a look at Daffy Duck. And what we can do for the user is we can simply add the phone number. So you would go ahead and add that and click Save. I'm just going to click Cancel for you. And this is also where a RepSign-Cert or an administrator can remove the user. I'm not going to go ahead and do that today. And you'll see the other choices as we've scrolled to the top and back to our menu are Home and Log Out. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the home page for you. So now we are at the home page. And again, this is the first thing that you'll see when you log in. You're going to see your little welcome here. And you're going to see a list of current reports. This particular individual has a lot of work to do. They have 11 current reports. And this is basically a quick snapshot showing the user what reports, if any, are on tap for them to fill out and submit to USDA. I'm just scrolling down the list of current reports right now. And so you can see a View Reports button at the bottom. This is going to take you to the reports dashboard. There's also another way to get to the dashboard that I want to show you, which again is up here at the top. On the right-hand side, there's a tab called Reports. If you click that, it will go to our next screen, which is the Reports dashboard. Now, the Reports dashboard shows you, has a little bit of information on it at the top that tells you a little bit about the tabs and how they're organized. So I'm going to walk through that for you quickly. Basically, the Reports dashboard has three tabs. Current reports here on the left, pending certification in the middle, and submitted to USDA on the right. Current reports shows you everything that you just saw on the home page. I'll scroll down for you. There's the financial report, final project performance activity report, etc., etc. I'm not going to scroll through all of those. Again, those are the reports that your entity needs to work on and submit or resubmit. And you notice we have a red warning here. There's something in these reports that needs a little bit more of our attention, and we'll come back to that a little bit later. Next up is the Pending Certification tab, which is the middle tab. This shows the list of reports that your team has worked on and has initiated certification for. When you initiate certification, the report becomes read-only. It moves into this Pending Certification tab, and the RepSign-Cert gets a notification that he or she has a report waiting for their review. The RepSign-Cert can edit a report that's in the Pending Certification tab, but no one else can. So after the RepSign cert has done everything they need to do to the report, when they submit it, the report will move to the Submitted to USDA tab here on the right-hand side. And that tab will show you a list of all of the reports that have been submitted to USDA. And when a report is submitted to USDA, its status becomes read-only for all members of your team. No one will be able to edit it. So we're going to go back to the Current Reports tab and look at some of these messages and statuses. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we've got a big red banner here that says one or more reports require our attention. So let's see what they are. In this case, we have a financial report that RUS has reviewed and submitted and sent back for more work. You can see that because there's the blue and white resubmission requested bubble beside the report due date. There's another report. There's a couple other reports on here as I scroll down where resubmission has been requested. And if any, as I continue to scroll, if any of the reports were overdue, you would see a red bubble in the middle, just as you saw those resubmission bubbles, showing you that the report was overdue. Now, before we delve into the details of an actual report, I want to show you how you saved your work in the RNC system. So I'm just going to pop a report open here real quick for you. We are looking at the first schedule of a financial report. It's the Network Access Services Revenue Schedule. And starting at the very top, you'll notice a Save button in blue and an Exit button in black at the top right-hand side of the page. This Save button, when you click it, will save any data that you've entered on the page, but won't move you off of the page. This can be handy if you're working on a very long schedule, like an income statement or a statement of cash flows, and you want to save your work partway through. The Exit button at the top will exit you back to the report dashboard. And also, if you click it when you have unsaved data on your page, you'll get a message up asking you whether you want to leave without saving the data or whether you'd like to save it. We'll probably see that a little bit later. Scrolling all the way to the bottom of the schedule, you'll see two more Save buttons. The one on the left is called Save and Back. That's going to return you to your previous screen, in this case, the report dashboard. And then the other one on the right, called Save and Continue, that's highlighted in blue, is going to move you to the review page for this report. Some reports in RNC, primarily the financial report and the system data report, have 2 pages for each schedule. We'll get into this a little bit more. One is a data entry page, the other is a report page. So it's kind of an intermediate step between moving on to the next, before moving on to the next schedule. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this and go back to the reports dashboard for you. Now we're going to start walking through the actual individual financial reports. And I'm going to go through these schedule by schedule to show you the functionality of the system. And you're going to see a lot of the functionality repeat. And so I'm hoping that's going to be a convenience for you. One thing about these dashboards and the home pages, you're always going to see the report due date for you and the reporting period for you pretty much at the top or beside the report's name. Now on the report dashboard, you'll notice that the financial report shows you all 6 schedules that are available to you. And those schedules are the Network Access Services Revenue, the non-operating net income, the income statement, the balance sheet, statement of cash flows, and subscriber data. And while the report dashboard allows you to click into any of those schedules to work on them, it's best to proceed from top to bottom. That is, start with network access, then move to non-operating net income, and then income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, and subscriber data. The system will actually walk you through this way. The reason that's important is these first 2 schedules, network access service revenue and non-operating net income, feed the other schedules later in the report. If you do data entry here, save it, and then come back and change it, you're going to have to go back to these later schedules and resave those as well to ensure that you have the most current data populating the entire report. Now here's a handy feature I wanted to show you before we dive in. At the bottom of every report, there is a review report button. That is going to take you to the review page for the entire report. You'll notice here on the financial report, there's an export link if you'd like to export it. This page is a snapshot of every schedule in the report, showing you their status. If any of these schedules have errors or warnings, there'd be some information there. You can see we've got some warnings to clear on the income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, and we need to fill out our subscriber data. So it's kind of a good place to go back and check to see if you've done everything and if you've cleared all of your errors and warnings. And that's really important because you cannot submit a statement with an error. You can submit a statement with a warning, but you're going to have to provide an explanation to solve that warning in order to be able to submit the statement. So again, let's just go back and we're going to go into our financial report, go into the first schedule, which is Network Access Services revenue. And keep in mind that there are basically three ways that the system gets information into any schedule. Some data is auto-populated from a previous report or the current report's other schedules. Some data is calculated by the system and some is manually entered. So the Network Access Services revenue schedule is where you're going to report revenues that are derived from the provision of exchange access services to an inter-exchange carrier or to an end user of the telecommunications services beyond the exchange carrier's network. And again, this data, some of it is going to auto-populate into the income statement, which is why you want to start here and answer whatever data queries you need to answer here. So let's scroll down a little bit, and you'll notice that the first thing that you can do is if your entity does not have network access services revenues, you can simply click the checkbox. And you may have noticed that the data entry line on line 1 has grayed out. All of the data entry boxes are grayed out, as you can see as I scroll down through the report. And you'll be able to just click Save and Continue and move on with your work. I've scrolled back to the top because I'd like to show you how the system handles data. Suppose that you have some data to enter on this particular schedule, but you don't need to fill out every line. You do not have to put a 0 in any line for which you do not have data. Simply leave it blank. However, leaving it blank in some cases on some schedules may require an explanation, which we'll see in a few minutes. So let's suppose that we have $1,000 of federal subscriber line charges. When you enter data, use whole numbers. Don't use any special characters like $signs or decimal points. The system is going to format that for you. And the moment that you click away from that data entry field, you can see that the system has given us the comma and formatted the $1,000 for us. I'm going to scroll to the bottom because I want you to see that the system will also subtotal for you and do running totals for you on various financial statements. And just to show you how that works, I'll go ahead and put $500 in for the second line item. Scroll down to the bottom again to show you the total network access service revenue of $1,500. If that's all we needed to enter and we're happy with that, we can click Save and Continue. You notice we get a little banner up at the top that says our data has been saved successfully. You can close the banner. And we're now on the review page for this particular statement. And again, you can't make any changes on the review page, but it's a good place to stop and take a look and make sure that you've entered everything appropriately. If you haven't, when you scroll to the bottom, simply click the back button, which is going to take you back to the data entry page for this schedule. I'll show you that very quickly here. As you can see, we are back on our data entry page, and we can enter more data as we need to. I'm not going to do that right now. We'll just go back to our review page, clear our save message, and we're ready to move to the next schedule. So I'll simply click Continue at the bottom of the review page. And you notice you get a little helpful hint on where the button is going to take you. It's going to take you to the non-operating net income schedule. The non-operating net income schedule allows you to report net income arising from transactions or activities that are not related to the furnishing of telecommunications services. And again, like most of the other schedules in the system, this particular schedule may require some data entry, and it's also going to populate onto the income statement. So you need to be careful to fill this out very early on in the financial report process. And this particular report is divided into 3 sections, which I've just scrolled down to show you here. non-operating revenue, non-operating expense, and total. And I'll show you how those work in just a moment. And like the previous schedule, network access services revenue, if you don't have any non-operating net income to report, you can simply click the checkbox that says my entity does not have any non-operating revenues and expenses, and then click the Save and Continue button at the bottom to continue with your data entry on the next schedule. I'm going to uncheck the box. These blue bars here, and you'll notice when I cursor over them, I get a little hand. They're actually clickable. Clicking on a blue bar is going to expand that section of the report. Clicking on it one more time is going to close it. And I wanted to just show you very quickly on this particular report, the bottom blue bar total is simply just going to do a running total for you in the middle column, which we'll see in a moment. And it also offers the opportunity to add an explanation, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. So suppose you have some non-operating revenue and expenses to report. Because these are items that are usually unique to entities, the system asks you to set up your accounts and provide dollar amounts and explanations for those accounts. So if we have an item of non-operating revenue, what you do is you want to click the Add Account button under the left-hand column called Line Item. So click Add Account, and you get a simple pop-up window asking you for an account name. Please provide a descriptive account name that is unique because you can only use it once, and also is going to give USDA a pretty good understanding of what you mean by this particular account. I've got some data saved, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that very quickly and copy it. And I'll paste the name in, and I'll go ahead and save the name. And we are back on the non-operating revenue section of the schedule. You can see our brand new account right here on line 1. If we're not happy with it, or maybe we misspelled something, we can always delete it. The next thing that you want to do is you want to provide the dollar amount for this particular item in $1,000. And you'll see when I click out of here, something interesting happens. You immediately get a warning that an explanation is required when you create a custom line item. This is going to be very common throughout the financial report. There's a lot of opportunities to create custom accounts to handle your entity's unique circumstances. And for every account that you create, you're going to have to enter a dollar amount, and you're going to have to add an explanation. The way you add an explanation is you come over to the Add Explanation button in the third column on the right-hand side. Click it, and you'll see a pop-up window with a text box. And again, I'm going to go in and copy my pre-programmed text here to make this a little faster for you. Simply add your explanation. When you're happy with it, click the Add button. It returns you to the statement. You can now see a truncated portion of your explanation and an edit link. If you're not happy with it, you can go in and edit it. And that's all there is to actually adding an account. Now we're going to do the same thing for the non-operating expense because I want you to see how the total has changed. Total at the bottom right now is $1,000 of non-operating revenue. That's what we just entered. We'll go ahead and we'll click the middle blue bar for non-operating expense. We'll click the Add Account button so that we can add an account for expenses. And we'll give that account a unique name by using the pop-up window, putting in the name and clicking Save on the pop-up window. And we will put in an expense of $500. And we will add an explanation. And as you can see, we've got that in place now. Now, scrolling down one more time to the total, you'll notice that the system has netted out that it has subtracted the $500 of expense from the $1,000 of revenue. So we have a total non-operating net income of $500. And again, once we're done with all of our data entry on this page, we can hit Save and Continue to go to the non-operating net income review page. And again, we get a little message saying our data is saved successfully. Take a look at the review page. When you're happy with it, continue to the income statement. Now I'm going to talk generally about the income statement and the balance sheet together for a moment because they function very similarly in the system. And for both the income statement and the balance sheet, line items are going to require manual data entry. And there are also some line items that are going to auto-calculate using either specific line items elsewhere on the page, system populated data based on other financial report schedules, or a combination of both. Now, keep in mind, if you receive a warning or an error on a line item, you must provide an explanation or fix the error. And again, you'll do that using the Add Explanation button that we just saw on the non-operating net income page. And if you get an error or warning on any of the auto-populated data, you're going to have to go back to the previous statement, fix it there, resave it there, come back to the income statement and save it here too. Now, the income statement demonstrates your entity's revenues, expenses, gains, and losses for the current reporting period. And as I scroll down on the income statement, you notice we've got a warning here already asking us to put in either a value or to provide an explanation for no value. And that warning will clear if I do one or the other of those items. So I'll go ahead and put a dollar amount in for that one, just to clear it, to show you that it does clear when you enter a dollar amount. The other thing I'd like to draw your attention to before we scroll down too much further is this little eye in the circle, and when I mouse over it, it's a tooltip. When you hover your mouse over it, it's going to provide you a little bit of information about that particular line item. And do keep in mind the user guide has full explanations of the line items for you. Something else I'd like you to notice as we scroll down, line item 2, network access service revenue, does not have a data entry block for it or a data entry field. This information was pulled directly from that schedule. If that schedule is wrong, you're going to have to go back to that schedule, fix it and save it here, come back to the income statement and save it again here. So as we continue to scroll down, you're going to see a number of places that require an explanation or a value. I'm not going to walk through every item on this particular statement because it is fairly lengthy, but do notice that it will total for you things like total operating expenses and operating income or margins. It's going to figure those out for you. Notice it's pulled the $500 of non-operating net income over for you, so you don't have to re-enter that. And again, it's going to figure out your total net income or margins, and it's going to, at the bottom, do some calculations and give you some of your financial performance metrics. And when you're ready, you can click Save and Continue, take a look at your review. Now notice we get a banner at the top that says the data's been saved successfully, but you need to go to Statement of Cash Flows and resave that. Well, we haven't hit Statement of Cash Flows yet, but we will do that in a moment. Now, we're on the review page of the income statement. We can't change anything here, but it's telling us there are some warnings on the page. And to clear the warnings, you're going to have to correct the flagged values or provide explanations. And if you notice on line item 5, other operating revenue, there's no data in the data column, but in the explanation column, there's a little amber triangle that says the explanation's missing. So you'd go back and you would fix that. For the purposes of time, I'm not going to go back and fix those today. So we're going to continue to the balance sheet. Now, this is where you're going to record your entity's assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity as of the end of the current reporting period. And as you can see, the balance sheet is divided into 3 sections: assets, liabilities and equity, and financial performance metrics. And just like the non-operating net income, each of those navy blue bars or dividers will expand or collapse a segment of the page so that you can enter information as you need to. And again, I'm going to just pop open the assets to show you that a number of fields on this page require either a value, or if you cannot enter a value because you don't have one, it's going to require you to add an explanation, as we just did for non-operating net income. It's also going to give you totals and subtotals as you scroll down through each of the items. And we'll just take a quick look at the liabilities and equity. Again, there are some areas that are going to require either a value or an explanation. And on the areas that are not necessarily required, you do have the opportunity to add an explanation if you need to by clicking the Add Explanation button. And now we're scrolling down through other liabilities and deferred credits. And you can see a total liability line here. The system is going to run that total for you. There is no data entry to be done on the total. And at the very bottom, when you click open the financial performance metrics blue bar, you're going to see the system calculated financial performance metrics, things like current ratio, total liabilities divided by total equity, tangible equity divided by total assets, etc., etc. So when you're ready, go ahead and click Save and Continue and go to the review page in the balance sheet. And again, it's telling us we've got some work to do. We would need to go back and use that back button at the bottom, which I'll show you in a moment, to either provide values or explanations for each of the items that's flagged on this review page. I'm going to scroll this pretty quickly because it's a long page. And you notice on the bottom left of the page, the back button would actually take you back to the balance sheet so you can make whatever changes you needed to make. We, however, are going to press on and click Continue to go to the statement of cash flows. Now, the statement of cash flows allows you to report your entity's change in the balance sheet accounts and income that affect cash and cash equivalents under 3 different activity types: operations, financing, and investing. And this schedule only becomes required and generated by the system once your entity has submitted the 4th quarter financial report for the previous calendar year. That is, you have to have a full year's worth of financial data in the system before the statement of cash flow shows up for you. And as you can see, we've got a little warning here that we've got some work to do on the page. And the statement of cash flows is divided into 5 sections: cash and cash equivalents beginning of period, cash flows from operating activities, cash flows from investing activities, cash flows from financing activities, and totals. You scroll down so you can see all of them. There you go. And you're going to manually enter some items here. Some items are going to be pulled from previous reports or previous schedules. So let me show you one thing that's unique. Beginning cash has been pulled from a previous report. And cash flows from operating activities. You notice some net income has come over from a previous report or schedule. And because cash flows can be unique to entities, you have the opportunity several times in this schedule to add an item of cash flow. We're going to show you this here for cash flows from operating activities. If you need to add a unique item, click the Other or Explain button, and you're going to see that hopefully now familiar Add Account pop-up window. Add a unique name, and click Save. And for this account, you would then enter a dollar amount in the middle column, and you would add an explanation by clicking the Add Explanation button. That's going to be required. You have the opportunity, by the way, to delete your other item if you need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. And you will see similar buttons under the other areas of cash flow. And again, you'll notice things have walked over from previous reports. That's where these numbers are coming from. And at the end, you're going to see your ending cash. And something that's important is the value for your ending cash has to equal the cash and cash equivalents plus cash RUS construction fund back on the balance sheet. If you do not clear this up, you will not be able to submit this report. I'm not going to walk back and clear that up, but I can tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from those little small test amounts that I've included on the first 2 schedules. So we'll go ahead and save and continue. And again, our review page is going to tell us we have some work to do. I will scroll down. and continue to the next schedule. The final schedule in the financial report is subscriber data. And the first thing that you're going to see is you're going to see two definitions here at the top. I will come back to those in just a moment, but I do want you to know that those are available on the page to you if you need to refer to them. Now, the first thing that you're going to see is some instructions about the radio buttons that you can see here in the blue square on the middle bottom of the page. You're going to click one of these radio buttons each time you fill out the report. The first one is, my entity has an existing network, therefore it has subscribers, including data to report at the end of this reporting period. The second is, my entity has an existing network, however, it does not have any data subscribers to report. And the third one is, my entity does not have an existing network, therefore it does not have any subscribers to report. If you've chosen the last one because you don't currently have a system and you're in the process of building out, that's fine. Just note that you'll be able to scroll down and see that all of the data entry fields are grayed out for you. You'll just click Save and Continue and move on with the rest of the report. However, I'm going to go ahead and click the first button to show you that because we are going to be reporting data, that all of the data fields are going to be required. You'll see the required with a little red asterisk beside it in the middle column. And it's going to ask you to enter things like cumulative number of subscribers beginning and ending of the reporting period. It's also going to ask you about residential and business subscribers for broadband services and the prices they pay. This is where the definitions come in handy. So I'm going to scroll back to the top of the page and talk about the definitions. When you're reporting residential and business subscribers for all services, those first few numbers, a subscriber means any customer that receives data, voice, and or video service, either exclusively or in a bundled package, and any customer that is receiving bundled services should only be counted as a single subscriber. When you work your way down the report, and you're reporting on broadband service, when you're reporting the residential and business subscribers broadband service numbers, a broadband subscriber means any customer that receives data service at a minimum of 25 megabits per second downstream and 3 megabits per second upstream, either exclusively or as a bundled package with other services. So let's scroll back down to the meat of the report. And I just want to show you very quickly, you do get your reminder if you have data subscribers, what a broadband subscriber actually means. If you're providing service at less than those speeds, they are not considered a broadband subscriber. So for purposes of simplification, I'm just going to tell the system I don't have any subscribers yet because I don't have an existing network yet. I'm going to hit Save and Continue. It has been saved successfully. Come to the review page. We'll go ahead and click Continue because we didn't enter any data. And we are at the end of the financial report. Again, if you want to download your financial report, you can export it here into a CSV or Excel file, but you're not going to get any errors or warnings included with you. You'll notice on the review page, again, you've got each one of your schedules listed and any information that you've included. And if there's any outstanding or warnings present, those will be listed here as well. Also, any explanations that you've provided are going to show up here. Now, notice income statement and balance sheet and statement of cash flows. We need to go back and fix all of that before we can submit this particular report. So we're not really ready to initiate support report certification. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way to the top, click Exit, and then I am going to go into the system data report. I'm now back at the reports dashboard. Let me pull my system data report. And you'll notice this system data report has 3 schedules: network data, capital investment data, and depreciation rates. Let's tackle network data first. And again, the system's going to either auto-populate from previous reports, you may have to do manual entry, or it's going to auto-calculate some data for you. So the network data schedule allows you to provide a detailed breakdown of your entity's network data. And again, the first thing you're going to see here to allow you to define your situation is a series of 4 radio buttons. The first one is, my entity has an existing wireline and wireless network. The second is my entity has an existing wireline network. The third is existing wireless network. And the fourth is does not have any existing network. Again, if you click that fourth button, everything's going to be grayed out. You'll just be able to scroll to the bottom and click Save and Continue. Let's click that we have both existing wireline and wireless networks. You're going to have to open each of these navy blue bars one at a time and walk through and provide the data that the system is asking for. For wireline data, it's going to primarily be things like route miles. And for wireless data, for wireless networks, it's going to be things like sites either under construction or upgraded or retired throughout the year. Now, in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and tell the system we don't have anything to report. Click Save and Continue. And go to our review page for network data. That looks good. We're going to go ahead and move to the second schedule, which is capital investment data. And this particular schedule allows you to provide detailed breakdowns of capital investments for the current reporting period. Things that you're going to include here are types and amounts of debt, grants received, contributions in aid of construction, and other types of capital investments. Now, just like one or two of the other schedules, if you don't have any of this type of information applying to your entity, you can simply click the checkbox. It will gray out all of the boxes, and you can simply click Save and Continue at the bottom. If you do have data for one or more of these line items, you're going to uncheck that box and make sure that you do provide the data. And again, you've got some tooltips here to help tell you about what kind of data should be going in for each line item. I'm just going to go ahead and tell the system I don't have any capital investment data to report and click the Save and Continue button. And we see another review page. That looks good to go. We'll click on to the final schedule in this report, which is depreciation rates, which allow you to report on your entity's depreciation rates for your telecommunications plant assets. And again, another series of radio buttons. The first one is my entity's depreciation rates are approved by a regulatory authority with jurisdiction over the provision of telephone services. The second is my depreciation rates are not approved by such regulatory authority. And the third is my entity does not have an existing network with depreciation rates to report at the end of this reporting period. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the first one. So we do have some depreciation to fill out. You're going to have to complete all the pertinent line items for this particular report if you have depreciation rates to report. And the schedule is broken out into a number of areas: network and access equipment, outside plant, buildings, towers, customer premises equipment, and support assets. And as you can see here on the screen, we've got navy blue bars that show you each of those sections. Just like the other sections of the other schedules of the report, click a navy blue bar where you need to enter data. Any data you don't need to enter can be left blank. Simply fill in the depreciation rate for any particular item of depreciation that you need to record. And when you're done, scroll to the bottom and click Save and Continue. For the purposes of simplification, I'm just going to go ahead and say we don't have any depreciation to report. We'll click Save and Continue. Get to our review page. And now it's going to take us to the review page for the entire report, where we can look it over one more time, make sure that we filled everything out correctly, make sure we don't have any warnings or errors. And if we wanted to, we could initiate report certification. I'm not going to show you that at all today because we actually are in the test environment, so I'm not going to be able to walk through the entire process of report certification and submission, but we will talk about it a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Save and Exit. It's going to take me back to the dashboard where we can now pick up with the last account report, which is going to be the audit report. And if you give me just a moment to get to the audit report that I need and clear this message, I'm going to scroll down and find my audit report, or scroll back up and find my audit report. I'm sorry about that. And I'll go ahead and click the audit link. Now, you may remember that I mentioned at the top of the presentation that the deadline for your audit report is going to be determined by your entity's legal structure and your audit review type. And your audit review type there are two. There's 7 CFR 1773, which applies to entities that are legally organized as corporations, commercial businesses, limited liability companies, cooperatives, and mutual organizations. And the second type is 2 CFR 200, which applies to entities legally organized as authorities, municipalities, public bodies, public power or utility districts, Indian tribes, tribal governments, institutions of higher education, nonprofit organizations, territories or possessions of the United States, and state or local governments. And just a quick reminder here, your audit report has to be in PDF form and it cannot exceed 2 gigabytes or the system won't accept it. Now, what's important to remember here is if you need to upload the audit report, it's the same for either type of audit entity, either 7 CFR 1773 or 2 CFR 200. The big difference is the public bodies and authorities and nonprofits and tribal governments, etc., who qualify under 2 CFR have an extra step. What you're looking at here is this entity falls under 2 CFR 200, so they're going to have to fill out one of these radio buttons. And the first one is, my entity has expended $750,000 or more in federal awards during the fiscal year, and we have not submitted our audit to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. You're going to be required, if you're one of these entities, to submit your audit here in RNC. The second radio button is, my entity has expended $750,000 or more in federal awards during the fiscal year, and we have submitted our audit to the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. Your audit submission is going to be optional. And the third radio button is, my entity has not expended $750,000 or more of federal awards during the fiscal year, and your audit submission is going to be optional as well. The 7 CFR 1773 is going to follow the same next step as anyone under 2 CFR 200 who has to upload their audit, which is you're going to see the audit upload section of the report. You can simply click the upload button to access your computer and upload the appropriate file. Or if you've got a spare window open and you want to do a drag and drop, there's a drop area, landing area for you as well. Finally, at the bottom, there's a space that allows you to put a short text note in, and the note will be sent to USDA with the report. And just as a reminder, this is the one report in the system that almost anyone other than a viewer can submit to USDA. It does not have to be the rep. So with that, we're going to go back to the reports dashboard. I'm going to scroll up and click exit on the audit report. And we are going to jump into the project level reports. And as a reminder, the project level reports are required on an award by award basis. And they may be submitted more than once depending on the number of awards that your entity has received under Reconnect. There are 3 project level reports for Reconnect. The first is construction progress, the second is annual performance, and the third is closeout. In addition to those 3 reports, if your entity has a Community Connect award, there's a couple of other reports that you'll be required to report on for that award. I encourage you to contact your general field representative to discuss those particular reports. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the construction progress report. That's where we're going to spend most of the time in the project level reports because it's different than virtually all of the other reports. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and find my construction report. I'll click the construction progress link under the report. And the first thing that you see when the page loads up is some text up at the top that describes the report and how the report functions and what it's used for. And it's also going to tell you that when you've completed construction, you're going to be required to enter your date of completion. And you're also going to be using a construction map to map your construction progress. And it's also going to tell you that after you complete your construction, you're going to move on to reporting the annual performance report rather than construction report. So the first thing we're going to do, scroll down a little further on the page. And again, another set of radio buttons is presented to you. The first one is, my entity has performed construction in the approved project service area during the current reporting period. The second is my entity has not performed construction. And the third choice is my entity has completed construction of the approved project service area. Now let's just take a quick look at that third option. When you have completed construction in all of the approved project service area, you are going to be required to enter a date of project completion, month, day, and year. As you can see, that little box lighted up when I clicked that third radio button. Well, our project isn't done, so I'm going to go ahead and click the first one because I'd like to demonstrate the construction progress map for you today. So we've performed some construction during our reporting period. So you save and continue, and that's going to take you to the map page. Get a little message up that you've saved your data. We are now on the construction progress map page. And again, as I scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a description of the map and a little bit about how the map works. And we'll walk through all of that this afternoon. And you're also going to see instructions on how to report new broadband subscribers, which I'll also show you some of as we progress through this demonstration. So continuing to scroll down, the first thing that you're going to see is a link to contact us. You're going to see those links throughout the system. That's going to take you to a reporting form where you can file a question or a comment to RUS, and they will get back to you and provide you hopefully some information and guidance as you continue to fill out your reports. So, construction map. The first thing you want to do is to familiarize yourself with the map. Click on the menu in the upper left corner of the map, these three little lines, and let's take a quick look at the map legend. I'm going to go ahead and move my map a little bit so you can see a little bit better what's going on here. You'll notice that the approved project service area is in green. You can see that here on the map. We don't have any non-funded service areas, and you can see that there's already been some progress recorded on this map in these two blue areas in 2018 and 2019. But we're going to go ahead and add to that today because, as you can see, we still have some construction to do in the green area of our approved project service area. I'm going to go ahead and close the legend. Now, the way you add the construction information is you go back to the menu and click on construction progress layer. And this brings up a little dialog box for you. If you had NFSA or non-funded service area construction, it would be listed here. I'm going to open the construction progress blue bar, and as you can see, our progress from 2018 and 2019 is listed here, and we could go to it if we wanted to. We can also make it visible or invisible, as you can see. And so to add construction progress, it's pretty simple. The first thing you do is you click the Add Construction Progress button, which brings up a pop-up window. This window is asking you for a couple of pieces of information, the first of which is what kind of construction and which progress area are you going to do this in. Either construction progress or non-funded service area. We're going to leave this with construction progress. The next thing it gives you the opportunity to do is upload a shapefile if you'd like to. You can do that here with the upload button or the drop area, or add the construction progress the way we're going to do it today, which is we're going to plot it ourselves. So you simply click the checkbox beside I will plot my area on the map using the draw tool, which lights up the Add Progress button. Click that, and we're going back to our map. Now, something else I want to show you on the map is the drawing tools. These are located in the upper right-hand corner of the map itself. The first tool at the top is the Draw Rectangle tool. Below that is the Draw Polygons tool. The third tool down is Edit Layers. And the last tool is Remove Layers. So for today, we're just going to draw a rectangle. So I'll go ahead and click the Rectangle tool, come over to my map, and it's pretty simple. Follow the instructions on the map, click to place first vertex. So I'm going to click over here. And then you just simply move your mouse and click when you're ready to finish. And it will draw a rectangle for you. And you'll get a warning up if you draw outside of your approved project service area. This is actually really handy because what this warning is telling you is that the map is going to clip that rectangle to your approved project service area, and that will neaten up the work for you a lot. So you want to go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice we have a sort of pale area over here on the left, and we've got a message up here that says the clip has been saved successfully. And you can do this with uploaded shape files as well. If you're not crazy about the shape of that and you need to edit it, come over here to the right, click the edit tool. You notice you get vertices on the newly added layer. Just drag one of the vertices or more of the vertices until you're happy with it, and come back and click finish. And clear your warning if you need to again. And you'll be ready to go. I'm not going to erase a layer for you, but you can remove a layer if you need to. Now, if you take a quick look, we have a third progress area listed for 2020 that we've just added today. I'm not going to go ahead and save the data on this, but you would, after you've created all of your construction progress areas on the map, you would want to click the Save Data button to save it totally to the system. The next piece that you're going to do is then scroll down further on this page, and you're going to address the new broadband subscribers for this particular reporting period. Either you have new subscribers to report or you don't, so you'll click the appropriate radio button. If you click My Entity Does Not, then you can just scroll down to the bottom and initiate report certification or save and exit if you need to. So I'm going to show you that we do have some new subscribers to report, which means that we're going to have to upload a geospatial file. As you scroll down further on the page, you'll notice that there's a description of how you go about this. The first thing that you're going to want to do is come in and download the geocoded subscriber locations Excel file that Rural Development has provided to you. This is an Excel file that is laid out as a template so that you can collect the appropriate data on the new subscribers, things like businesses, farms, anchor institutions, residences that were connected during your reporting period. What you're going to do then, after you've finished filling out your file, is you're going to upload it here using either the upload button or the drop area. And again, if you have questions on this, there's a handy contact us link for you to reach out to RUS. Once you've uploaded that file, it will populate on this map that I'm scrolling into position right now. It's blank because we do not have a sample file for you today, but I can show you what a completed map looks like very quickly. This is a static picture of a map. If this were live in the system, each of these little blue pins would reflect one of the lines in your spreadsheet that you uploaded. And if you clicked on it, you would actually see the geocoded subscriber coordinates and addressing information pop up in a little window for you. And you notice that this particular map has remove data and save data buttons. If you're unhappy with the data, if maybe some of it didn't turn out quite correctly, you can remove the data and start over with a fresh upload. And now we are to the end of this particular report. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and exit to go back to the dashboard to pick up my next report. And you'll notice that I've got construction progress saved successfully, which is always a good thing. So the next thing that we are going to look at is the annual performance report. Now, this particular report does not start occurring until your construction is complete. Remember, on the construction progress report, we saw a place where you would have to enter a completion date, and that's going to tell the system to start generating your annual performance report for you. And again, once all of your construction has been finished and reported, you're going to be required to submit this annual performance report for a period of 3 years, starting the year following the date of project completion. For example, if you started construction in February 2020 and completed it in May 2022, then your entity is going to be required to file construction progress for that period of time. And then you're going to start filling out and complete and filing your annual performance report in 2022 and thereafter for 2023 and 2024. Now, this particular report, you'll see as I scroll down, requires a couple of narratives. The first narrative asks you to describe any network service improvements, upgrades, or enhancements to support broadband access. And the second narrative asks you to describe your entity's progress made on fulfillment of your obligations under the Reconnect Award. And as you can see, both of these are narrative responses that are required of you, and there's a text box for each. These text boxes are rich text boxes, so you can format them. You can also include images and URLs if you'd like to do that. Scrolling further down, in addition to those two narratives, you are going to be required to continue the geospatial upload of subscriber locations for each of the 3 years that you're filing this annual performance report. And just like on the construction report, you're going to use that geocoded subscriber locations Excel file, fill it out completely, make sure you're happy with it, and upload it here using the button or the drop zone. And again, you're going to see this type of map, and it would be reporting on any locations that you uploaded with those little blue pins. And we are now ready to either return to the dashboard or initiate certification. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the dashboard. And then we are going to pick up the last report, which is the closeout report. If you bear with me for a moment till I find my closeout report. Here we go. And again, you're going to file this report 90 days after your project is completely finished and all money has been dispersed and or the award has ended. And it's going to ask you for 3 narratives. The first is to compare actual accomplishments to the objectives set forth in your original application. The second is to describe any delays or problems that occurred affecting the attainment of your overall project objectives, including things like schedules that went awry as well. And the third is to provide a comparison of how your funds were spent against your actual budget. And again, these are all rich text boxes, and you'll be able to include links or images as you should need to. I'm going to go ahead and return to the dashboard. So now that we've looked at each type of report, I'm going to talk a little bit about submitting the reports. Once you've addressed all of the errors and warnings in your report, you can then click on the Initiate Certification button that we've seen throughout our time together so far at the end of each report. And that's going to send the report to the RepSign Cert. It's also going to move the report from the current reports on the report dashboard where we are now into the Pending Certification tab. And again, it's also going to convert the report to read-only for everyone except the RepSign Cert. He or she is going to review the report, and they have 2 choices to make when they're done reviewing it. They can either send it back to your team for more information and to rework things, which would move the report back to current reports, or they can click on Submit to USDA, which will move the report to the 3rd tab here on the reports dashboard, submit it to USDA, and convert the report to completely read-only for everyone on your team. Now, when USDA receives a report, they'll assign a reviewer, and the reviewer is going to take a look to make sure that it's meeting all the requirements and that we understand everything that's going on in the project and in the report. And during that process, USDA may reach out to you or one of your key contacts if they have some questions. Something else that the USDA reviewer can do is they can mark up the report with notes and actually send it back to you, and your team would receive an email message when this happens and request you to change or add information. You'll notice that we've got a report here on our current reports tab on the report dashboard with resubmission requested for it, and this is a financial report. This is exactly what's happened. USDA has gone in, seen some things that they need additional clarification on, and requested for some additional information. This also means that this report is now editable by your team, and it's moved out of that read-only submitted to USDA column. Something that's handy to do on a report where USDA has requested additional information is click the blue Review Report button so that you can quickly see which schedules that might require some attention from you to answer USDA. So it looks like Network Access Services revenue and non-operating net income for sure need some attention. And there might be others as well. So I'm going to go ahead and exit that. And now I will go in and I will show you what it looks like when you've taken a look and you know where you need to work. Let's open the Network Access Services revenue. You notice we get the little reminder up again, USDA has commented and you may need to make some corrections. For every line item where USDA has listed a comment, you're going to see a little link that says View Note from USDA. Click that. And that's where the USDA reviewer has provided the information that they need. In this case, they've asked for the entity to update the item. Maybe there's later figures. So you would go in and actually you would change the dollar amount on that particular item. That would clear the view note once you save it. And then you would be able to resubmit the report after you have cleared all of USDA's notes. I'm going to show you one other in the non-operating net income. You notice on capital gains, this looks like an account that was created by the entity. And the note says, please add additional details to the explanation. So they want more information about these capital gains. To do that, you would simply come over here, edit your explanation. And click add. And again, you'd walk through and you would clear all of those particular notes in any of the schedules where you need to clear those notes. And when you're ready to review the report, the schedule, take another look. And again, you would walk through the report, clear all of them from all of the schedules, all of the notes from all of the schedules, and you would reinitiate sending the report to the RepSign cert. They would take another look and hopefully resubmit it to USDA, and so that the report would end up back in the submitted to USDA tab. That's basically it for the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share and return to my slides for just a couple of wrap-up items. Give me just a moment to get back to the slides. Just want to leave you with a couple of helpful tips. Again, you heard me mention the USDA contact form throughout the live demonstration. It is linked throughout the system, and it will take you to the URL that's on the screen, which is actually the contact form on the Reconnect website. When you use the form, please go ahead and select the reporting subject line for it, and please include your phone number in the text box so that RUS can reach out to you if they need to offer additional assistance. And please note also that the RNC system times out after 15 minutes of inactivity. This can be important if you're working back and forth from another system or from hard copy. You want to make sure that you keep your session live if you need to, just by clicking around a little bit, but do note that it will sign you out. And again, to close, the recommended browsers are Microsoft Edge for Windows 10 and Google Chrome with the latest version. If you use either of these browsers, you're going to make sure that you don't have any technical issues actually using the system. And again, you're going to log in at the URL on the screen using your verified eAuth ID and password to enter the system. And a couple of quick data entry tips to finish with. You're only going to use whole numbers in the data entry fields. And if you need to add a negative number, simply put a little dash in front of the number. Leave any line items that don't apply to you blank. If you need to enter an explanation as to why they're blank, go ahead and do that. And if, as you incur errors and warnings throughout the system while you're filling out reports, please enter or correct missing information or add explanations